We, the citizens of America, are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and restore its promise for all of our people. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Well, greetings, friends and fellow citizens, and welcome to the We the People Convention News and Opinion radio show and podcast. My name is Tom Zawistowski. I'm the host of this show. I'm also the president of the We the People Convention, and this program is paid for by the people like you who donate to the We the People Convention to make this available on our 5-station radio network every Saturday morning throughout Ohio, and to make our podcast available anywhere you want in the world 24/7 after it's posted around noon every Friday. If you are on the radio and this is the first time you're tuning in, I want to welcome you to this show. I think you'll find it entertaining, and I think you'll find it informative, and I think you'll find that we have opinions that you will not hear anywhere else. So welcome to all of you. For those of you on the podcast, thank you for joining us, regardless of how you're doing that. You can watch our podcast on our website at wethepeopleconvention.org, and if you click on the little yellow button on that front page, you'll see that you can also watch the podcast on YouTube. You can also hear it on iTunes. You can get it on your phone, your laptop, any way you want. You can even get it on TV, on Roku TV and Amazon Fire TV. So thanks to all of you who are watching the podcast wherever you are, and everyone on the radio. We're sure appreciative of you joining us, and we've got a great show for you today. Let me tell you, it's packed full with lots of important information. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is some really good news. Last week, we told you that we were going to have a We the People Convention in Columbus, Ohio on Saturday, August 15th. And I just got to tell you that you guys have just really responded. I wasn't sure with the whole COVID thing and people afraid to travel and do things. I wasn't sure what kind of attendance we would get, but ticket sales have been terrific since last week. So we're awful glad that you guys are responding that way. We've got a big room, but at this point, I'm hoping we have enough seats because we are having to social distance a little bit and all that. So it does take up a little more room. The venue for our event is going to be the Crown Plaza Hotel, just north of Columbus, Ohio, by 271 and 71. It's a great venue, and if you want to get tickets to the We the People Convention, you can do that by just going to wethepeopleconvention.org, and then right on the front page, you'll see a red button that says click here to get your convention tickets. The tickets are only $35 per seat. That basically covers your lunch and the rental of the room that we have to pay for. And the event's going to start at 10 a.m. on Saturday, August 15th, and then we'll have lunch at noon, and then we should be done by about 2 o'clock. That way you can have enough time to drive to Columbus from anywhere in the state and enough time to get home at a decent hour if we break at 2 or 2:30 thereabouts. As I said last week, Secretary of State Frank LaRose is going to open up our convention by talking to you about voter registration. And folks, as I've told you before in this show, there are 9 million adults in Ohio who are eligible to vote, and only 7.2 of them are registered. And of those 1.8 million who are not registered, most of them are not in cities. They are in rural red counties. And it's our job to get those people registered and get them out to vote this election. Frank LaRose will also talk about working the polls. We need 35,000 Ohioans to work the polls this November. And if we're going to make sure we have a fair election, it only makes sense that we're the ones working the election. And the best news is you get paid for that. You get paid about $130 for election day. You get paid $35 for training. So call your Board of Elections and sign up to work the polls this year so we can assure we have a fair election. And then finally, he's going to talk about voter fraud. So we're going to discuss how we can stop that in Ohio and what he's concerned about and what we can do about it. The second big guest at the convention is going to be David Conte, who is the guy we worked with the NRA, ILA in 2016. And he's going to be presenting to you the tools that the NRA is going to provide to us, whether it be texting capability, phone calling capability, materials to lit drop, door knock, signs, that type of stuff. So we're gonna have some. It's a working event. This meeting is for this convention. The We the People Convention is for people who are willing to work to make sure that President Donald Trump is reelected, because the only way President Donald Trump gets reelected is if he wins Ohio again this November, and that's our job to make sure that happens. So once again, if you want tickets to the We the People Convention, just go to wethepeopleconvention.org, click on the red button. There's a little video there that explains more about it, and then the order form's right there, and we'll take good care of you. Okay, so thanks to all you who've already bought tickets, and those that haven't, please go to the website and do so as soon as possible. All right, so now on to the news of the week, and it was pretty big news for Ohio. Those of you who are watching from around the country, you have to indulge us because the news here in Ohio was a bombshell. This Wednesday, the Department of Justice announced that they had arrested Larry Householder, the Republican chairman of the Ohio House of Representatives. He and 4 other individuals were arrested. A person named Matt Borges, who is the former chairman of the Ohio Republican Party. Another person named Jeff Longstreth, who is been a political operative for many, many years. 2 other people, Neil Clark, who's a lobbyist, and another guy named Juan Cepedes, who's 40 years old. He's also a lobbyist. I have read the entire 81-page criminal charge against Householder, and this is very serious business, folks. This is very serious business. And this is going to take a long time. There are going to be more arrests. There could be many members of the Ohio House who are also going to be involved in this. The juxta of this for you around the country is that there's a company based in Akron, Ohio, called First Energy, and they own 2 nuclear power plants in Ohio, and they were not performing well as far as financially, and they wanted the taxpayers to bail them out. And basically, First Energy provided $60 million to a 501c4 run by Householder and his cohorts. And basically what they did is they paid people who were running for House. They helped them get elected on the deal that they would vote for Householder to be the speaker. And then once he was speaker, that they would vote to pass Senate Bill 6, which basically bailed out those power plants for First Energy. There's a lot more to this story. There's interference with a ballot petition that was going to go try to get on the ballot to overturn Senate Bill 6. There's all kinds of criminal charges happening here. But the bottom line is this, folks. We've been complaining in the Tea Party about the pay-to-play culture in Ohio politics from day one. When the first time I got involved with the Tea Party, I didn't know nothing about politics. I'm a small business owner. I voted. I thought people were honest. I thought people, had a sense of duty and responsibility. In the 11 years we've been involved, all we've seen is corruption. All we've seen is people taking bribes, being bribed, and if they didn't take the bribes or be bribed, being personally destroyed by the people named in this indictment and others. And so we're going to see whether Governor DeWine is implicated. He has already announced that he's going to give to charity the money that came from this PAC to his campaign, but he's not going to give back the money he got directly from First Energy. So that's interesting. There is also some other things that are concerning about this. Ohio Republican Party Chairman Jane Timken made a video where she said she was shocked by what had happened, and she basically asked that the Householder step down immediately, even though he has a right to a trial, and she asked that Borges and the rest of them disassociate themselves with the Ohio Republican Party, and that's all great and all good, but I said to Jane Timken, where's your responsibility? You've known about this pay to play. Are you going to clean this up? And that's really the problem. Because, see, folks, here's the bigger problem for all of us in the United States. What we're fighting during this COVID, scandal is what it is. We're seeing that the people in government don't serve us. And we're seeing that, the corruption is rampant. It's all about power and money. And the problem we have in Ohio is that the Ohio Republican Party and the Democratic Party, they both make money selling votes. Householder was elected with the help of Democrats. And what did they get for that? They got a prevailing wage bill. Okay, and so I know there was probably some shenanigans there as well. But the problem is the Ohio Republican Party sells their votes. That's how they get the money to operate. That's how they get the jobs and consulting gigs that they want. And so if Jane Timken actually stopped the pay to play, the problem is they would have to then figure out how to become a grassroots organization and get the 2.5 million Republicans, registered Republicans in Ohio, to each give $20 a year to be a member of the party so they could raise $50 million. But Jane Timken's not qualified to do that. Jane Timken wouldn't even want to do that because it's just a lot easier for them to get with their wealthy friends and get 10 people to give them $5 million each. That's the conundrum we're in. We don't have political parties. In Ohio, the Republican Party is not a party, it's a mafia. You either do what they say or they'll whack you. Well, it was great to see that they got whacked, and we think a lot more are going to get whacked. But we are in a crisis, a constitutional crisis in our country because our government doesn't serve us. It just rules over us and steals our money for their own purposes, for their own benefit. So, we'll see how that goes, but that was pretty big news in Ohio. The other big news in Ohio was that Governor Mike DeWine, finally came out and did what we all knew he was going to do, and that was that he was going to crack down and say that everyone has to wear masks no matter where you are in Ohio, if you're outdoors, if you're outside your house. And, we saw this coming because DeWine has been confusing, the number of cases with deaths. When this all started, it was all about deaths. But then when the deaths are down, and again, in Ohio, the deaths are down. You can look at the chart. I've shown it to you before. The deaths are down. And, it doesn't matter now because now it's about cases, but cases aren't about illnesses. And if you're watching the podcast, I got a picture of DeWine. He's wearing a mask and he looks like he's a robber, right? Like a bank robber from the old Westerns. But he is a robber. He's stealing your liberty. He's stealing your freedom and he's stealing our prosperity. And it's just despicable what they're doing. Now, I do want you guys, because everyone's saying to me, what do we do, Tom? How do we stop this? And the problem is our whole form of government has collapsed. There's no checks and balances, and there sure as hell is no representation, right? So we've been just trying to pursue lawsuits and things like that. But right now, the bottom line is we simply cannot comply with his orders. The only way to fight back is civil disobedience, because this isn't about science or medicine. This is about politics. Now, there are some other ways, for you to basically manage this situation. And I want to show those to you because it's important. So once again, in this order, first thing is he never has an enforcement mechanism. So who's going to stop you if you don't wear a mask, right? Now, in some of the Democratic cities, the mayors have said they're going to have a hotline for people to report you and blah, blah, blah. But generally in the state, no one's going to do anything if you don't wear a mask. But even in his order, it says that you don't have to wear a mask if you're if you're at your home. You don't have to wear a mask if you're outdoors and able to maintain a 6-foot social distance from people who are not your family. Okay, that's a big thing. And so then you're also cannot do it if you have medical conditions, if you're actively exercising or playing sports. So if you're jogging, if you're in the park walking, you don't have to, wear a mask. If you're, a rabbi or priest and it's a religious service, you don't have to wear a mask. But also at the restaurants, I think it's hilarious. You go to the restaurant, they have a sign, you got to wear a mask. I take the mask, I hold it over my face like it's a handkerchief. I sit down, I take the mask off, and everybody sitting around me doesn't have a mask on. Okay? So just do your best to protect your freedom and your liberty, and we'll fight back about this. But the bottom line is, The science is on our side. This is the problem. If people were dropping dead like these guys are scaring people into believing, you bet I'd be telling you to wear a mask. If I could find any evidence that masks work, I'd be telling you to wear a mask. But just this week, folks, here's a video from the United Kingdom. How can you be any clearer than what this guy says?
I was on the phone this morning to a colleague in Hong Kong who's a professor there, who's done the evidence review for the World Health Organization on face masks, and we're of the same mind that there is no evidence that general wearing of face masks by the public who are well affects the spread of the disease in our society. What matters right now, of course, is social distancing. But in terms of the hard evidence and what the UK government recommends, we do not recommend face masks for general wearing by the public.
How can you be any clearer than that? How can you be any clearer than that? That's the WHO, that's the United Kingdom, and then if you go to WeThePeopleConvention.org to the webpage where I posted that, there's a CDC Center article about a new study. And this new study says, this was a May 20th, 2020 study. It says, quote, "We did not find evidence that surgical type face masks are effective in reducing laboratory confirmed influenza transmission, either when worn by infected persons or by persons in the general community to reduce their susceptibility." Do you see why I say this has nothing to do with science or medicine? It's real simple. This is about politics. This is making sure that Donald Trump does not get reelected. This is to make sure that our economy suffers, that your personal wealth is affected. This is to keep your kids from getting education. These people, including Mike DeWine, are so callous, are so desperate for power and money and to control you, they will hurt your mother and your father who are in a nursing home. What they've done to the elderly is a criminal offense, and I hope people are charged with it. They deserve to be charged with it. This is unbelievable, but it's not science. And you don't have to wear a mask because it doesn't work. And then we still got the problem. There's another story this week. Concerns rise as some positive COVID-19 results never got tested. Sarasota, Florida. Coronavirus continues to spread quickly across the state, okay? But I got people calling me and saying they tested positive, and the guy says, for what? He said, that's impossible. I never got tested. Now get this. The guy says, I never got tested, and he had gone to a drive-through testing site at a rural healthcare center, but before she was able to get swabbed, she left the line because she realized it was for people with symptoms only. I told them they needed to take this off my record, and they said I had to prove to them that I wasn't positive. She never got tested. They counted her as tested, and now they're telling her she's got to prove that she doesn't have the virus. That's how nuts this is, folks. And it's nuts because of the lies. I posted a story on Thursday from the New York Times that said New York Times lies again about new study so they could keep schools closed, okay? And there's a Korean government report, based on data from March, and it basically says that the kids aren't spreading the virus. But the New York Times ran a big headline saying, kids are spreading the disease. And this one doctor wrote back and said, that your story is the product of a complete misunderstanding of a weak and confusing report. There's a real irony in you providing baseless ammunition against the reopening of schools while professing not to buy into this agenda. It's propaganda, folks. Nothing short of that. It is known lying. And I can't understand why people keep quoting the New York Times. There is nothing the New York Times says that you can believe. Matter of fact, if you hear something from the New York Times, believe the opposite. That's what blatant liars they are. And we're going to talk about how evil they are later in the show about something they're trying to do to Tucker Carlson. Here's the point. Call your school and tell them they must reopen this fall, full-time, 5 days a week, kids in the seats. If you go to WeThePeopleConvention.org to that New York Times story, you'll see the link to the videos we've got that prove that the kids have nothing to worry about, and They don't transmit the disease to the teachers. They're not going to bring it home and infect grandma. That's a lie. It's been proven to be a lie. And see, and the whole thing that's so upsetting about this is the double standard, because this was great this week. One of top Biden advisors slips and admits complete mishandling of the Obama-era epidemic. During an event at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., Biden campaign advisor Ron Klein, who also worked for Vice President Biden in the White House and led the response to the Ebola outbreak, explained how the Obama administration did everything wrong in response to the 2009 swine flu. I wasn't involved directly in the H1N1 response, he said, but I lived through it as a White House staffer, and what I would say about it is a bunch of really talented, really great people were working on it, and we did every possible thing wrong. 60 million Americans got N1H1 during that period of time. It is purely a fortuity that this isn't one of the great mass casualty events in American history. It had nothing to do with us doing anything right. It was just luck. Obama, the media did nothing, just bowed and genuflected. You know how many people died from H1N1? About 150,000, about what we got right now. Don't believe the lies. Call your school district and demand that they open up. We're going to take a break. You're listening to the We the People Convention News and Opinion radio show and podcast, and I'm Tom Zawistowski.
Buckeye Firearms Association is Ohio's #1 gun rights organization, protecting the rights of Ohio's 4 million gun owners. And you can get our weekly gun rights newsletter free. Receive breaking news and urgent alerts on gun laws. Stay up to date on self-defense and shooting sports. Discover pro-gun activities and events near you. Get your free gun rights newsletter now at bfanews.org. That's bfanews.org. bfanews.org.
The Buckeye Institute was founded in 1989, and we're the longest serving free market think tank in the state of Ohio. My goal is removing barriers to prosperity that have been put in place by government. We want for Ohio to be the freest and most prosperous state in the country.
The Buckeye Institute is a source of common sense ideas that will have an impact on the nation as well as the state of Ohio.
I will note that the Buckeye Institute came out with a release right after the household arrest here in Ohio, demanding that Senate Bill 6 be repealed, the bill that was bought and paid for through all this bribery with Householder. Governor DeWine also asked for Householder to step down, as did Jane Timken, but Buckeye Institute stepped right up, so we'll see what happens with that. I want to talk next, though, about Portland and what's going on there, folks, because we need to understand some things. We're getting confused here, all right? So the first thing is that the DHS chief vows not to pull federal law enforcement from Portland because the mayor there and the governor there and the state senators there are all saying, we don't want your troops. You have no right to be here, all that kind of stuff, okay? And that's bogus. There's been $23 million worth of damages in the 53 weeks of riots in Portland. Okay, the entire downtown has been destroyed. And these people are saying, we don't need your help. We can handle it. But folks, here's the problem. We are under attack. For those of you who think that why don't we just let Portland burn itself to the ground? Do you understand this is an armed invasion of our country? This isn't a protest. This isn't about race. This is about nothing but these people are trying to take over our country, okay? Again, don't doubt me. Listen, here's a video from a Black Lives Matter person in Portland. Listen to what she says.
Caught on tape actually saying, watch.
Hi everyone. As many of you know, my name is Lilith Sinclair. I'm an Afro-Indigenous, non-binary local organizer here in Portland, organizing for the abolition of not just the militarized police state, but also the United States as we know it.
We are working for the abolition of the United States as we know it. Ladies and gentlemen, this idea that we shouldn't go out there and arrest these people is ludicrous. This is as if the Chinese, communist Chinese, had landed troops in Portland or Seattle. If you let this go, they're taking land in our country. So what happens if they take Portland and they take Seattle? Oh, let them take Los Angeles and New York too. Do you understand what happens to our country? You're in a civil war. Those morons then start to break down our economy and shut down businesses and persecute people like you, conservatives. You absolutely have to go after them. And I'm so proud of Donald Trump and our federal officials and Homeland Security and Border Patrol and all that, because they are doing that. And President Trump launched this thing called Operation Legend yesterday, or Wednesday, I think it was. And he announces that he's going to surge federal agents to Chicago and Albuquerque to combat the rise in violent crime. So not only are we going to keep fighting in Portland and in Kansas City, where they tried this Operation Legend, now Trump is going to stop the killings in Chicago. And he's going to stop the lawlessness in Albuquerque. And he's talking about sending them to New York and other places because he has to. These people need to be arrested, and they're being arrested. This has all been fun and games for the little Antifa people when they're in Democratic-held cities where the governors and the mayors are coordinating with terrorist groups. And I've said this before, and I'm telling you, these people need to be arrested. The mayor of Portland needs to be arrested. The governor of Oregon needs to be arrested. The mayor of Columbus, Ohio needs to be arrested, because I guarantee you, if they are looking at their text messages, their emails, and their phone calls, they are coordinating with terrorist groups to attack federal property and destroy businesses. That's got to be addressed, and it's being addressed. Right? It's been real fun and games. Well, it ain't so much fun and games now, as we just found out on Thursday, after a night of rioting in Portland outside the federal courthouse, the U.S. Attorney's Office brought federal charges against 5 people. 2 of them are attorneys, and one is now claiming she was sexually assaulted by the officer. Boo-hoo, sweetie. This ain't going to be some rigged, court for Democrat judges. These are going to be federal courts. The sentences are 10 years, okay? And we're going to show in our next segment how people are getting those 10-year sentences. But bottom line is, we have got to understand we're at war. These people are trying to overthrow our country. And so I've said this before in a previous show, and I'm going to start saying it every week. It is now clear that everyone in the U.S. who says that they are or who say they are or are found to be a Marxist, a communist, a socialist, they need to either be arrested or deported or convicted of sedition, because they are not Americans. They are working to overthrow our government. And folks, we need to understand this. And this is all backed by China. This is all backed by China. This is the beginning of World War III. And the only way to avoid a full-out World War III is to crack down right now, to stop it right now. And that's what President Trump is trying to do. And so all those people who are saying he has no right to do that and all that kind of stuff, listen. Jonathan Turley, who has not been President Trump's biggest fan, he said, Congress has written a law that gives largely unfettered authority in declaring such unlawful obstruction, assemblies, or rebellions against the United States. The law says, whenever the president considers it necessary to use the militia or the armed forces under this chapter, he shall, by proclamation, immediately order the insurgents to disperse and retire peaceably to their abodes within a limited time. Thomas Jefferson used it. George W. Bush used it in the riots in Los Angeles in 1992. This thing has been in practice by presidents like John F. Kennedy, who used the first airborne to go to Mississippi to let the kids go to school there. They used it to fight the Ku Klux Klan. He's got all the authority in the world. So be careful about misinformation, and be careful about this nonsense of saying, the federal troops have no business doing this. They have all the business in the world. It's called defending our nation. And I want you to call the White House. I'll give you another assignment. Call the White House. You're going to call your school district. I want you to call the White House and write the White House, and I want you to demand that they name Black Lives Matter a terrorist organization. Because that woman just said that their goal is the abolition of the United States. That's sedition. Look it up. Call the White House and demand that they name Black Lives Matter a terrorist group, because then all these people are funding them, all these big companies and stuff, they can't fund a terrorist group. Their money will be confiscated by the government. And then call DOJ, call AG Barr, and demand that they go after the funders, as we talked before. All right, so for you on the radio, I want to get to one more point before we wrap this up, because, man, I got so much stuff in this show. You get 26 minutes on the radio, but I'm just telling you, this show is going to go on the longest, I think, any show we've done. I got a whole bunch of stuff afterwards, but I want to get one more thing in here, and I've talked to you about perspective, and I want to show you an example from Tucker Carlson. So watch this and listen to this short video, and then I'm going to comment on it. Here we go.
Well, the government exists to keep the country safe, to make it possible for you and your family to live without fear. When they fail to do that, when they refuse to protect you, it's up to you to keep your own family safe. That's the most basic right there is. It's a natural right, the right of self-defense. Mark and Patricia McCloskey of St. Louis invoked that right. They had no choice. A violent mob showed up at their house. The police wouldn't come. For doing that, they have been charged with felonies, and they've been roundly attacked by our news media.
What they did was very aggressive. There wasn't a need to brandish a weapon in a threatening way.
It's an image that's getting a lot of backlash online. A St. Louis couple pointing guns at protesters. Why it's become a symbol of people resisting change at a critical moment for the country.
These are their neighbors who they are threatening their lives with these weapons. And when you pull out a gun, you better be prepared to use it. Like, that's a terrifying thing.
So we have a Second Amendment. That's the good news. We've had it for almost 250 years. The bad news is you're not actually allowed to invoke it. It doesn't really mean anything. And if you try, they'll put you in jail. Ryan Kleckner is a former Army Ranger sniper. He joins us tonight. Ryan, thanks so much for coming on. So this is all happening. We've chronicled it in some detail on this show over the past couple of months. It's this horrifying combination of the collapse of state order, the police, and at the same time this crackdown on self-defense. My question is, who is pushing back against this? Who is standing up for the rights of Americans to keep their families safe?
You are, we are. I hope we all get together and get a big wake-up call here, Tucker. I mean, we are absolutely under attack. You said it right. The government's fundamental interest is to protect its people.
Yes.
And when the government fails to do that, and goes worse, when they make the situation worse by failing to stop these riots, when they maybe encourage some of these activities to happen, when they let buildings get burned to the ground, they let these groups occupy American territory, when they allow this to fester and grow and grow and grow, to where the average American citizen has no resort left but to stick up for themselves and defend themselves, and then the government comes after those people and not the violent mob, we have no choice. I hope the wake-up call here for people is that you are responsible for yourself and your family's safety.
Okay, stop the tape. Now, I love Tucker Carlson, but that report was completely off base, because at the time that Tucker Carlson made that report, the governor of Virginia had already said that if convicted, he would pardon them. The Attorney General of, I think I said Virginia, the Attorney General of Missouri said that they would go after the prosecutor and would do everything in their power to make sure that this trial never happens. The Department of Justice is looking into this radical George Soros-funded prosecutor who's a social justice warrior. What I'm trying to say to you is, Tucker Carlson is acting like your Second Amendment rights are over, like no one's standing up for them. Well, I just named 3 people standing up for them. And this isn't happening everywhere. Remember, I talked to you about perspective. So don't buy the lies. Understand there is still some law. I just showed you how the DOJ is cracking down in Portland. I'm going to show you a whole bunch more about how they're cracking down on Black Lives Matter. But your Second Amendment isn't going anywhere. So don't believe it. I know Tucker's trying to make a point that it's wrong that these people got charged, but they're not winning. She's not going to win. The radical prosecutor is going to lose. I guarantee it. Okay? So let's be happy warriors. Let's not convince ourselves that we're losing. Let's look at the facts. All right? So I'm going to wrap up the radio show. If you want to come to the We the People Convention, please go to wethepeopleconvention.org and click on the link and watch the video and order your tickets. Please call your school board and demand that they open full time and show them the evidence that there's no reason for them not to. And number 3, call the White House and call the DOJ and demand that they make Black Lives Matter, name them a terrorist group, and use RICO and go after them because they're trying to overthrow our country. Okay? I'm going to continue with the podcast after this. You can get that by going to wethepeopleconvention.org and clicking on the little yellow button, and you can pick up the rest of after the radio show. But thank you for tuning in this week. Again, you're listening to the We the People Convention News and Opinion radio show and podcast. And my name is Tom Zawistowski, and I'll see you again next week. The We the People Convention News and Opinion radio program is paid for by donors like you. You can donate to the We the People Convention and support our cause by going to wethepeopleconvention.org or by sending your check in any amount to We the People Convention, P.O. Box 6211, Akron, Ohio 44312. All right, and we're back, and we're going to continue with the podcast, and I really got a lot of important stuff to talk about, but the one thing I'm going to start with is Black Lives Matter, because they're in the news, and they're something that needs our attention, and boy, are they getting some attention. The best news is this: you and I have done our job. A new poll shows a majority of Americans now oppose Black Lives Matter, because when they first came out, they were looking like, oh, everybody loves them. And if you're watching the podcast, which you are, I'm showing you a chart that shows right after the George Floyd death, the support for Black Lives Matter versus opposition was like a 20-point spread. But now, after the riots and the burning and all the stupid statements and the people actually looking at their websites and listening to shows like this, it's now 44% opposed and 41% supported. And the problem is the 41% who support it don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's the problem, okay? But the good news is we're reaching out and we're fighting these people, and we're standing for justice. And we ain't buying this garbage about defunding the police and all that stuff. And again, President Trump was the one who stepped up, and he started by saying he's going to defend the memorials, right? When they were tearing down all the statues. How many statues have been torn down lately? Not many that I'm aware of. So here's what happened. A rioter who basically desecrated the Lincoln Memorial, spraying "Y'all Not Tired Yet" in paint on the Lincoln Memorial. Yeah, well, they found this guy. Basically, President Trump promised swift penalties for anyone who damaged federal property. Now we're learning he was serious. A man accused of scrawling a message on the Lincoln Memorial with spray paint is facing 10 years in prison. Micah Avery, 26 of the District of Columbia, described as a black male, was indicted this week on charges of destruction of federal property. According to a criminal complaint by the U.S. Park Police officers on May 30th, they saw Avery graffiti the words, "Y'all not tired yet," with black spray paint on the Lincoln Memorial. Take him to jail, okay? Take him to jail. Here's another story. Black Lives Matter leader Charles Wade charged with sex trafficking. Charles Wade, a prominent Black Lives Matter organizer and co-founder of Operation Help, was arrested last month and charged with human trafficking and prostitution. Mr. Wade was arrested at a Howard Johnson Inn in College Park, Maryland, where he was residing in a motel room and pimping a 17-year-old girl. Yeah, probably a black girl. I guess black lives don't matter too much to them, right? How about this one? I love this story. Last month, Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall had nearly 700 individuals taken into custody and hit with an at-large arrest charges after they blocked a major interstate highway in the city. After blocking the Margaret Hull Bridge, 647 protesters were put in zip-tie handcuffs. An unapologetic Hall said in a subsequent press conference that she was the one that made the call to detain the individuals and reiterated that she warned the protesters not to break the law, or if they did, they'd be arrested. We warned them, if you break the law, we will arrest you. There are many who question and are not happy with the decision that I made on yesterday, Hall said. Let me be clear. I'm not here to make people happy. My job and our job in law enforcement is to keep the city safe. We have pledged that. We will do that, and that is our goal. You go, girl. Damn right. And that's what you do. And you haven't heard about a lot of riots in Dallas, have you? Haven't heard about statues being torn down in Dallas, have you? No, you really haven't. Here's another good story. City in California erases Black Lives Matter mural after MAGA 2021 was proposed. After the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Daniel Pease of Redwood City, California, asked Redwood City for permission to paint a Black Lives Matter mural on the street near the the courthouse square during 4th of July. Not only did the city authorize the mural, it even supplied him with the yellow paint to paint it. Great. But city crews power washed the 17-foot mural away Thursday, despite plans to let the temporary paint fade away over time. The city erased the mural after attorney Maria Rutenberg requested permission to paint a MAGA 2020 mural nearby. Rosenberg said she saw the courthouse square was being used as a public forum. As a Redwood City resident, she wanted to participate. Yeah, they backed off of that real fast, okay? That's how you fight these Marxists, these mobs, this tyranny, okay? But folks, be clear. Understand, I told you, we are under attack. This is actual war. It's all propaganda, right? They're just saying, oh, these are peaceful protesters. And the CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and Washington Post, yeah, they are all communists. They want to end our country as we know it, as the woman just said in the video clip I played for you. So this is serious. And here, someone sent me, one of our listeners sent me a thing about the Midwest Academy organizing, social justice warriors. This is a website where they can go and you can take classes in leadership development, effective coalitions, and organizing for the long haul, okay? And it all talks about the Midwest Academy was founded in 1973, and they are training social justice warriors in our midst. This is organized insurrection, and we let it happen. If you name Black Lives Matter and Antifa terrorist groups, these groups go away, and they need to go away. Yes, we have a nation of free speech, though this next story is going to say that we don't, okay? But you don't have a right to organize to overthrow the government of the United States. It's called sedition. Look it up, okay? And when I said you don't have free speech, here's the problem. You do have free speech, but they're winning the propaganda war. Cato Institute did a survey. Walking on eggshells, 62% of Americans are afraid to express political views, survey finds. Let's see here. The Cato Institute YouGov National Survey found 62% of Americans say the political climate today prevents them from saying what they believe. This is up several points from 2017 when 58% of Americans said they were afraid to share their political beliefs. Yeah, that's because of Obama. That's because of Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and their racist Department of Justice. 31% of liberals, 30% of moderates, and 34% of conservatives are worried their political views could get them fired or harm their career trajectory, the Cato survey stated. A recent poll conducted by Politico found that a plurality of Americans believe the cancel culture has gone too far. And we reported on that last week, okay? People don't like this. But Cato found that minorities, the majority of Democrats, 52%, independents, 59%, and Republicans, 77%, who all agree they have political opinions they are afraid to share. The majority of centrist liberals, who in 2017 said they could express their views freely, now say they have to self-censor. You can't do it. You can't agree to this. You can't give up your freedom of speech. You must stand for your rights. You must express your views. You must tell people that you think Donald Trump's doing a good job. You must tell people that Antifa is a Marxist group, that Black Lives Matter is a Marxist group, that the Democratic Party doesn't exist. It has been taken over by the communist Chinese, and if you vote for any Democrat in any election at any level, you are a communist. You are voting for the communist overthrow of our nation. You are not a Democrat. There are no Democrats. It's that simple. This is all about taking away your freedom and liberty and replacing it with state control. And when we talk about Joe Biden's platform, you're going to see that that's what this is. So you tell them, you ain't a Democrat, you're a damn commie. And you better understand that. And we're going to treat you as such. This is just unacceptable. And remember, I've talked to you before, freedom of speech isn't just critical because you have a right to say what you believe and think, and that public debate is really important because that's how the United States under our Constitution has come so far. Despite the lies that the left wants to tell you in the 1619 Project and all that, we are fulfilling the ideals of the Declaration of Independence. We have spent 240 years getting better every year. We're the least racist country. And that's because we argue our ideas and we convince people to move to the right direction. And we are for the individual. But here's the other point. The reason all communist and socialist societies fail is because if you don't have free speech to argue your ideas, you can't create anything. The reason the Soviets couldn't build a frickin' car was because no one would speak out. They would have this bad part or this bad design. No one's going to say anything or they're off to the gulag. That's what's happened in Venezuela. That's what happens in Cuba. Why in the God's name do you think all these communist places and socialist places, including France, are so retarded economically? It's because they don't have free speech. And the only reason China has grown is because we let them steal all of our technology. They didn't invent crap. Even though they come to our colleges and we educate our enemies. We're so stupid. Speak up. Fight for free speech. It's everything. You cannot have the number of people lifted out of poverty that we have without it. You can't have it. You must defend it. For yourself, your children, your family, your community, your state, your country, and for everyone in the world. That's how important free speech is. And you're listening to these clowns who telling you shut up or you might lose your job? Go to Human Resources and complain to them that you're being harassed by the liberals in your company. Make a paper trail. So then when they fire you, sue the hell out of them and get the money and then share it with the We the People Convention so we can attack them. We're at war. Fight back. All right, we're going to take another break. You're listening to the We the People Convention News and Opinion radio show and podcast, and I'm Tom Zawistowski, and we'll be back in a minute.
This is Jordan Seculo with the American Center for Law and Justice. At the ACLJ, we are committed to fighting the deep state and protecting freedom, the right to life, religious liberty, and fighting for the Constitution. The ACLJ has experienced tremendous success in litigating cases at all levels of the judiciary, from the federal district court level to the Supreme Court of the United States. We have offices in Washington, D.C., Jerusalem, and all around the world. You can find out more about the ACLJ and join us by visiting aclj.org.
Did you know that the Right to Life Action Coalition of Ohio is the largest statewide life group in the state? Are you tired of the compromised approach to pro-life legislation that has been the status quo for far too long? Since 2017, the efforts of the Right to Life Action Coalition of Ohio has changed that approach, closing loopholes and making pro-life laws enforceable. Visit rtlaohio.org or call 440-668-4049 for details.
All right, we're back, and I appreciate you being with us. We've got one more segment to go. I covered a lot in that last segment, but I got even more to cover in this segment, okay? Now, we talked about free speech. We talked about how important it was. We talked about the communist countries. AG Barr made a speech on China, and you must watch it, and you must share it. It is unbelievably important for you to understand what we're really up against. And I posted it on our website at wethepeopleconvention.org. I sent out a partial email and text last weekend urging people to view it. I can count how many people went to the page. Not enough of you went to view this. This is an incredibly important speech, and I'm begging you, please go to wethepeopleconvention.org and look at the Bill Barr China speech. It is critical for you to understand the fight we're in, the fight the DOJ and the FBI are in, our military are in, and President Trump is in, and we need to be in. Because as I've said to you this show, I keep saying it, I know you must think, I lost my mind. We are at war. We are literally under attack. The forces of communism are literally trying to take over American cities. Don't doubt me. And that's where the propagandists get away with it. Oh, don't look at what's over there. Oh yeah, nothing going on over there. Those are just peaceful protests. Yeah, nice try. Here's some more proof. President Trump and Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, ordered the closing of the embassy, the Chinese embassy in Houston, Texas. Yeah, what happened? All of a sudden there were fires. There were people with barrels burning stuff all night long on Thursday and Friday before they evacuated their embassy, right? Here's what Marco Rubio said. China consulate in Houston is not a diplomatic facility. It is a central node of the Communist Party's vast network of spies and influence operations in the United States. Now that building must close, and the spies have 72 hours to leave or face arrest. He said this needed to happen, okay? And now they're also looking at the embassy in San Francisco. If we're not at war, why would we be doing this? You don't even understand. Americans do not even understand the depth and the breadth of the spying in America by the Chinese. Every one of our universities is a platform for this. And so thank you, President Trump, again for fighting the fight, defending our freedom, and defeating our enemies. And here's another thing that Trump did this week. Good stuff. Trump signed orders excluding illegal immigrants from Census to prevent inflated congressional districts. Boy, this has got the Dems in a tizzy. Yeah, I'll tell you, they're all upset about this. President Trump on Tuesday signed an order directing the U.S. Census Bureau to not count illegal immigrants when awarding seats in the House of Representatives based on each state's population. The directive requires Commerce Secretary William Ross to provide information permitting the president, to extent practicable, to exclude immigrants without legal status from the population count used to divide up House seats. States use the census count conducted every 10 years to redraw congressional districts based on how their populations have shifted. Last year, the Supreme Court ruled against an attempt by the administration to ask respondents in the census if they are citizens. Trump's attempts to utilize the census in his immigration agenda have countered fierce opposition from Democrats. Remember the story I did in June when the court was handing down the DACA ruling and other rulings, and Daniel Horowitz said what Trump needs to do is ignore them because the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction. Trump, he said exactly in that article, and I shared with you, that Trump should have ignored the lawsuit about the census question, which has been asked for 100 years, and he should have put it on the census. But now he's coming back at them, and Nancy Pelosi's having a fit. The House of Representatives will vigorously contest the president's unconstitutional and unlawful attempt to impair the census, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said in a Tuesday statement. So what, Nancy? You don't have the authority to do this, and what Trump is saying is exactly right. If you're not a legal citizen of this country, if you're an illegal alien, not an immigrant, Nancy, the media, these are illegals. They don't have a right to representation in our government. Our Constitution says that our representatives represent the legal citizens in their district, not the illegals. And see, that's why all these sanctuary cities, and that's why California, all these guys, they do this so they can get more congressmen. Well, Trump is going to stop them. Yeah, and you don't want to reelect Donald Trump, right? Yeah, he's a racist and hates America. And yeah, we're going to talk about that some more too. Okay, got some other stuff to talk about because there's some serious business here. I don't know if you saw it, but early this week, Tucker Carlson did a segment that was really personal. He talked about he's going to be doxxed by the New York Times. And doxing, for those of you who don't know what that means, is that means when people put your home address and phone number or your business, location and stuff out on the internet so that people can attack you. That's what they do in the cancel culture, right? That's how they get you fired, right? It's totally immoral, totally unethical. Well, as you remember, Tucker Carlson had Antifa come to his house while he was working and terrorize his wife and 4 children. His wife called 911 while hiding in a closet in their house. No one ever got arrested for that. And I kept asking that and wondering that. 2 weeks later, they came back. No one ever got arrested for that because it's the District of Columbia, a Democrat rat hole. Rat hole. That's what I said. Mark it down, all you people who watch this show. Okay? So what happens? He then got hate letters and death threats for a year, and no one got arrested. So then what happens? He finally said, we love the neighborhood, our kids grew up there, but we felt it was best to move. So they moved. Yeah, the New York Times was now going to do a story identifying where he had moved to. So what Tucker Carlson did is he went out and he said on his show, if you want to play that game, I'm going to dox the person writing the article, the person taking the pictures. I'm going to dox your editors. And they came out with a statement that said, while we do not confirm what may or may not publish in the future editions, the New York Times has not and does not plan to expose any residents of Tucker Carlson's, which Carlson was aware of before tonight's broadcast. Yeah, no, you weren't. He shut you down because you're cowards. You're okay doxing him, but you don't want to be doxed. I told you guys last week, we're at war and we need to start fighting like it. It is time for us to start doxing people on the left. I know that's not what you want to do, but I've said the example many times on this show. In war, you got to do things you don't want to do. U.S. servicemen in the Pacific didn't want to take a flamethrower and burn Japanese soldiers to death when they were in a hole. Who wants to do that? No one wants to do that. But they had to do that to win. The Japanese were flying their planes and their aircraft carriers. This is war. So, when in Ohio, our Dr. Acton, she got upset because we were protesting outside of her house. Well, guess what? We're fighting a war, and war is hell. And we've got to start playing with the same game that they're playing. Now, because listen to this next story. This is horrific. This is horrific. So here's the rest of the story. There's been a lawsuit filed against 3 people at Fox. Okay, Ed Henry and Tucker Carlson are 2 of them. I think Sean Hannity and Howard Kurtz, Kurtz, have all been charged with sexual misconduct in a lawsuit. Okay, now Ed Henry's already been fired because apparently he did, almost, as I understand, he actually raped a girl. Okay, so he's gone. But Tucker Carlson in this lawsuit, this woman is a joke. This is a woman that he gave airtime on his show, and she now is taking money from the Dems to try to take him down. You know why? Because Tucker Carlson is being effective. Because Tucker Carlson is hurting them. Because Tucker Carlson is telling us the truth, right? And so they make all these insane claims about Tucker Carlson, like, he told her that he was, going to be in a hotel room all by himself, and his wife wasn't going to be there, as if he was coming on to her, except their facts are all wrong. The night she said he did that, he wasn't even there. She said he retaliated against her by not letting her back on her show when she didn't give in to his sexual advances. And here it shows she was on the show 4 more times. It's a joke. It's Kavanaugh hearing time. And they ain't getting away with it. And Fox finally has some stones and they're backing up Tucker Carlson. But this is what they're doing, folks. This is Bill O'Reilly. This is Glenn Beck. This is what they do. If you don't think this is war, this proves it is war. But Tucker Carlson ain't going anywhere. And God love him. And watch his show and support him. Send him a note and tell him thank you for doing what you're doing, because it's not easy. All right, got some good news now. That was a tough piece to do because we all care about Tucker Carlson, and I think he is a really good guy. I don't think he's like some of these people have gotten caught by the Me Too movement. He's a good family man. And so I'm glad he's defended himself. But now we're going to end on some good news. We're going to talk about some good things. Existing home sales surged by a record 20.7% in June. Let's see here. Real estate market staged a historic rally in June with sales of existing homes surging 20.7% month over month, the biggest such increase on record. National Association of Realtors said in a report on Wednesday that existing home sales climbed to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.72 million units last month, up from 3.91 million units in May, ending 3 straight months of declines. And I can tell you that our son and daughter and daughter-in-law and son-in-law, they've been buying houses, and this is in Cleveland, Ohio. This ain't in some place where, the houses are, where the market is really strong. And I mean, they've had to pay over the asking price. If you didn't come with an offer, you wouldn't get it. People are falling all over themselves to buy these houses because interest rates are so low. So that's a pretty good thing. That's helping our economy. And for me, I'm so thankful that our children are going to be able to lock in, a 30-year fixed rate at like 2.7%. Who would think such a thing? What does that mean to them over their lifetime? It means hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. It's unbelievably awesome. Great news. Here's some other great news. Our good friend Chris Farrell, who came to Ohio, went to the Portage County Tea Party meeting and talked about, voter fraud and stuff like that, and Judicial Watch. So he's doing a case in California, and California's radical gender quota discrimination law for corporate boards has been successfully challenged in court by Judicial Watch. Last year, Judicial Watch filed a lawsuit on behalf of 3 California taxpayers seeking to prevent the state from implementing a 2018 amendment to Corporations Code known as Senate Bill 826. Senate Bill 826 required that publicly held corporations headquartered in California had to have at least one director who self-identified as a woman on their boards by December 31st, 2019, and have up to 3 such people on their boards by December 31st, 2021, depending on the size of the board. However, this type of gender quota falls afoul of Article 1, Section 31 of the California Constitution, which states that the state shall not discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in the operation of a public employment, public education, or public contracting. Thank you, Judicial Watch, for fighting these illegal quotas. This is a big, big deal. Really appreciate them doing that. I love Judicial Watch. I hope you support them. We do. All right. So now, another story that was kind of interesting. The Democrats are actually accusing Trump of using the Postal Service to try to stop mail-in balloting. Senior Democrats in the House of Representatives Oversight Committee wrote to the new Postmaster General on Monday to press him on reports the service was prepared to delay mail delivery if needed to cut costs, a move that could affect mail-in ballot results. Now, I don't know about you guys. I know that my wife and I and some of the other people I've talked to are telling me that their mail is just taking forever. Okay, I mean, my mother sent me a birthday card. It took 10 days, first-class mail. So this, again, and you should know, the post office is underwater. They've been for a long time, okay? Because the government, again, because it's not free market, it's under the control of the government. So what does it do? It fails because it can't do the things that will make money. So it loses money. So Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, a Trump appointee who took office in June, has detailed changes to the service that include eliminating overtime, even if that means that mail delivery is delayed. Well, he's a Republican. He's a conservative. He's a businessman. And so the Democrats are saying, whoa. If we're going to have mail-in balloting, we got to fix that. Well, yeah, that's just one of the many problems we're going to have with their joke that we're going to do mail-in voting, folks. Listen, that ain't happening. Trump's going to stop it. We're going to stop it. We got to stop it. You're going to vote in person. I'm telling you, just count on it. I don't care what diseases there are. All right, so now, Joe Biden's been finally getting out there on his platform, and I said in the beginning of this show that if you vote for a Democrat, if you're a commie, you're voting for the government takeover of our country. You're talking about communism taking over our country. And so Biden has basically picked up all the radical left, OAC, Bernie Sanders garbage. He basically announced the new Green Deal. Green New Deal thing is his platform. And folks, it's real simple. It's all about the state taking from the individual and then dominating your life. This Green New Deal is literally just, it's like Obamacare was the medicine. It had nothing to do with medicine. It was about controlling your life, because if I control your health care, I can make you do anything. Better yet, if I control your children's health care, I can make you do everything, right? That's why the Tea Party fought Obamacare. It was a liberty issue. It was bad economics. It was bad medicine, but it was a liberty issue. Well, the same thing is true with the Green New Deal and all the defend the police and all the other nonsense that Joe Biden is putting forward. It's not about the environment. They're trying to create these huge union groups that have guaranteed incomes to implement all these, these boards and all these, things that they need. They're talking about retrofitting 4 million buildings and 2 million households by 2030. Okay? They're talking about creating a whole bunch of boards. Let's see here. Here's a list of boards. Bigger government. Transfer the Council of Environmental Quality into a Council of Climate Action with a broader mandate. Create an Office of Climate Mobilization in the White House that reports directly to the president. Establish a White House Council of frontline environmental justice community and national leaders who would inform the design and execution of climate change laws, policies, and programs. Let me interpret this phrase that said that would inform the design. That means tell you what to do. Not informing you, we're going to tell you what you're going to do, all right? Reinstate the cabinet level and interagency council on environmental justice and update the 1994 executive order that changed that. Environmental justice. Whenever there's anything before the word justice, it ain't about justice. If it's social justice, it ain't about justice. It's about them having an edge. It's about giving them special treatment. And that's what's going on. Okay? So there is no choice here other than, do you love America or do you want to destroy America? That's all there is. Joe Biden's nothing. Joe Biden's an avatar, right? In these games, he's just like an image. Joe Biden ain't going to decide anything. Just like Obama didn't do anything. It was Valerie Jarrett and the commies behind him, Bill Ayers, that decided everything. Joe Biden is just a face. He's like a cartoon character, right? In an ad. He's not a real person. But his views are real simple. They want to dominate your life. They want to dominate everything in your life. They want to destroy the Constitution. They want open borders. They want to destroy energy. They want to put you in the Soviet Union or China. That's what they want you to do. More likely China, because China's our enemy, okay? So the propaganda. Poll came out this week. Poll. Joe Biden leads Donald Trump by 4 points in Ohio. Presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden leads President Donald Trump by 4 points in Ohio, according to a poll conducted by Rasmussen Reports and released on Wednesday. A poll of 750 likely 2020 general election voters in Ohio shows the former vice president with the support of 47% of respondents, while the president has a support of 43%. Only 4% were undecided. The poll was conducted July 15th and 16th and had a 4-point margin of error. So first of all, it's a 4-point margin of error, which means it's a dead heat. Second of all, it's bullcrap, okay? It's bullcrap. I was quoted in this story in Breitbart. This story was on Breitbart, and I was quoted in it, and it said, well, we are well aware that we cannot take anything for granted. Certainly the actions of Governor DeWine have undermined support for Trump voters who were really benefiting from the economic prosperity and promises kept by Trump since his election. Many of these supporters are the small business owners and blue-collar workers who carried Trump to victory in 2016 and are now disillusioned by what happened to their lives in the last 4 months. The overreaction by DeWine to the coronavirus pandemic is directly responsible for this economic pain these Trump voters are feeling. However, at this time in 2016, Hillary Clinton was supposedly leading the polls by 16%, and Trump won by 8%. So I got news for you. If the polls are telling you that Biden's winning by 4% because they're trying to convince you that Ohio's in play, yeah, he's getting creamed. Trump's up probably by at least 15, okay? That's what we're going to find out. But we ain't taking anything for granted. If you come to the We the People Convention, we're going to work hard. We're going to crush the Democrats across the state, in every race, in every city, town, and village. Our goal is to destroy the Democrat Party, to destroy the commies, because that's just trying to destroy us, okay? So I don't care about their 4-point poll. We're going to win Ohio for Trump by 15 or 20. That's my goal, all right? And here's some proof that shows that what they're telling you is it's just nonsense. Some new polls just came out on Thursday this week. New polls, okay? Last night's polls say, Georgia, Trump is up 49-46 over Biden. In Kentucky, he's up 60-34. In Michigan, Trump is up 50-45. In Montana, Trump is up 52-42. In North Carolina, Trump is up 49-46. In Pennsylvania, Trump is up 48-47. In Texas, Trump is up 49-45. Now, they'll all say, well, you're just choosing the polls you like and all that stuff. Remember the piece that I showed you at the beginning of this or in the middle of the show that talked about how people are afraid? 62% of Americans and 77% of Republicans are afraid to express their opinions? Yeah. You think they're telling the pollsters the truth? Or you think they're just keeping it to themselves until they vote? Yeah, it's the latter, folks. It's the latter. There ain't nobody in this country that sees this rioting and says, oh, I want to vote for that. Yeah, they're right. There's no one in this country who gets called a racist, screaming by some little snowflake in your face that you're a racist simply because you're white, or even if you're black, simply because you don't agree with them. Who likes that? Who wants to vote for that? Who in this country wants to vote to defund the police? Even in the black community, they ain't doing that. How come the polls are saying that Trump looks like he's going to get like 17% of the black vote, and I don't know why he's not getting 70% of the black vote, other than the fact that they lie to them so much they don't know the truth. Okay? I've said to you all along, there is nobody that's going to beat Donald Trump in this election. The only way they're going to win is to cheat. And if we let them cheat, shame on us. We got to work like hell between now and election to make sure they don't cheat. And then we got to work like heck to make sure that if they think they're going to lose the election, they just don't start a civil war and stop there from being an election. Because folks, they will do anything to defeat us. We must be willing to do whatever it takes to defeat them. And we will. We will, because we're Americans. We love our liberty, and we will not surrender our country based on a bunch of propaganda and nonsense. It's just unbelievable that these people think they can get away with this. Well, yeah, we're going to show them. Trump's showing them. The DOJ's showing them. I hope Durham's going to come out and start arresting the deep state and all these people who've been undermining our country your whole life, your and my whole life. Justice is coming. We're going to bring justice down on these people in a way they have never seen in history. And we're going to drive the commies out of our country. And I mean it when I say they either have to be deported or they need to be charged with sedition. But you cannot say you are a Marxist, a socialist, or a communist in this country. We cannot accept that. And all the teachers and all the people in these nonprofits, they need to be thrown out of the country because this is war. So you want to play? Let's play, okay? You want to play? Let's play. You'll have fun. Once the sleeping giant wakes up, ask the Japanese and the Germans and the Russians how much fun it is to play with us. Yeah, we'll play if you want to play. All right, we're going to wrap up the show. You're listening to the We the People Convention, News and Opinion, radio show and podcast. I need you to keep telling people about this podcast. We had record viewers of our show last week because of you. I didn't do anything different. You must be doing it. I just did the same emails and text messages I always do. Biggest number ever by far. We were probably up 30% over the week before. If you have stories, and I showed you in this show that some of these stories came from you, go send them to info@wethepeopleconvention.org. I look at your stuff. I need you to do that. This is your show. I just present it. But it's all about us. It's about us defending our individual liberty, prosperity, and freedom, right? And our nation and our Constitution. So share with me the good stuff so I can share it with everyone else, okay? We're going to wrap it up. I thank you for joining us. We'll be back again next week. You're listening to the We the People Convention News and Opinion radio show and podcast, and my name is Tom Zawistowski.